All right, a recent Gallup poll says President Obama's approval ratings are at a 5-month high, 47%. We're joined here by a panel of insiders. Themis Klarides, one of the rising stars of the Republican Party. She's deputy Republican leader. She's vice chair of the Republican Party. Pat Scully, political insider, pundit, the author of The Hanging Chad, an insider here in Fox, Connecticut. Right. Corey Brinson, Republican lawyer, former city councilman, rising on the Republican media. So let's talk national politics first, all right? A bump for Obama, the highest ratings in 5 months. What does it mean? Anything?
Well, I think that it means that the Republicans aren't doing a very good job. They're beating each other silly in the primary race. Congress, he's sort of running against Congress right now because the super committee failed, and the payroll tax stalemate, and he's sort of rising above it, so to speak. He hasn't done anything positive necessarily, but the Republicans make it easy for him.
I will reach across the aisle and slightly agree with Patrick to the extent that our party hasn't gotten, the Republican Party hasn't gotten behind one good candidate yet. And so President Obama is going to benefit from that. But I think after the party chooses a nominee, you're going to see the approval ratings change, because then the message will be much more focused. And so it's 1 running against 5 right now.
You agree? Republican leader, you concerned a little bit? Obama, everyone thought he was wounded. All of a sudden, the guy started to show some life. He's like Lazarus, coming back from the grave.
I may have to agree with my colleagues on this one. I think the problem is, as Corey mentioned, it's even though it's a the Republican primaries, everybody kind of has a different position on the Republican spectrum to a certain extent. So it's kind of a bunch of Republicans against President Obama. And once whoever it is we decide is that person, or whoever it is that really ends up being the front runner, it will be a very unified message once again. And so it will be what the Republicans believe versus what the president believes. But
the key term there, unified frontrunner. Iowa caucus is coming up, and right now Ron Paul is the flavor of the month. I mean, if you're a Republican, let's be honest now, Ron Paul's the leading guy. You got to be a little concerned about that.
I think that a poll that came out just before we taped this show showed Romney at 25% in Iowa, Paul at 22%, and then you have Rick Santorum at now he's at 16%. That's an 11-point boost since the last poll.
What does that mean, Pat?
Well, I think it means that he is succeeding in appealing to the social conservatives, the evangelical vote.
In Iowa.
In Iowa,
right.
which is big, but they're also the ones that come to the caucuses.
Right.
So it's very important. And Newt Gingrich was at 33% before. He's at 14% now. So yeah, it's all over the place.
But if Republicans can't find that unified person soon, isn't that going to further undermine what you're trying to do and get a new president?
I mean, we will find that unified person soon. I just think that, people focus on the Iowa caucus or this one or that one, and obviously it's the first one, so it's the big one in a certain sense. But there are people that vote there, and they look for different things that maybe people in the Republicans in the country may not be looking for in that regard. I think in the next few months, when we see this, filtering a little bit, you'll see kind of the cream rise to the top.
Okay, well, who will rise? 2 Republicans. Who will rise to the top? Who will be your person when the dust clears?
First, I want to point out George Bush never won the Iowa caucuses, so I think that's a great point that you make. Also, I think ultimately it's a crowded field, but ultimately I see Mitt Romney rising to the top because ultimately this election is going to be a referendum about jobs and the economy, and I think Mitt Romney's background, having governed the state, puts him in a position to have the best chance to beat the president.
You agree?
I think the problem with not our party right now, but just in general, when you go into this kind of thing, when you have a sitting president who is not particularly strong going into all this, and Republicans want to beat him. I mean, let's be honest, that's what we do. We want to beat them, and they want to beat us. Right. So that's where we are right now.
Who do you like? You're dodging the question.
No, I'm not. I'm actually getting to that point. I mean, there's no Ronald Reagan in this group, quite frankly. And I say that in the sense that, he was and is a beloved politician in the Republican Party. And I don't feel that way about anybody. But what I look for is who do I think has the best chance to beat President Obama? And I think that's Mitt Romney for many reasons.
Now, Pat, this guy who hasn't risen in the polls, right? He's just holding steady, right?
Right. And as an analyst, to me, it seems like the whole thing is very messy. Ron Paul has incredible baggage, particularly on foreign policy. And Romney's got his own sort of flip-flop problem. And Newt Gingrich, I've heard described as a blender with the top off. So eventually they will coalesce around a certain candidate. And in my mind, the one that can beat Obama or could beat Obama is Mitt Romney.
Okay. Now, here's what I see out there, right? I see gas prices starting to inch down again.
Yeah.
I see unemployment starting to inch down again, even though the polls don't take in consideration the underemployed. I see Iraq troops coming back home. And I see a president who's going to be able to say, you know what, I failed on the economy, but I'm getting stuff done on the periphery. Is that going to be an effective strategy?
First of all, it's almost a year between now and the election, and as anyone here or anybody in politics will tell you, that's a lifetime in politics, number one. And number two, particularly with what's been going on in this country in the past few years, people care about what's in their pocket or what's not in their pocket. And I think that will drive who people vote for next year.
All right, let's talk about Romney. If indeed it is Romney and Obama, and I kind of hear all you're saying, it will be, Romney. What is he? You mentioned he has the offer of this. He's a businessman, right? Self-made millionaire, venture capitalist. He ran the Olympics, been a governor. What concerns you about Romney if you're Republican? And then we'll go to our Democratic operative. If he is your guy, what concerns you about him if you want him to be the president? Candidly.
I think Mitt Romney's biggest challenge is going into the 2012 race will be selling his religious faith. I think there is a reservation in this country about Mormons. I think because people don't understand it or don't know a lot about it, and so that will be the buzzword of 2012, and that's something that Mitt Romney will, like John Kennedy had to do with the Catholic faith, is have like Obama did on race in Philadelphia, is have a conversation with the American people, give a speech about his faith.
All right, let's do this. We're going to talk more in the next segment about whether or not religion is that the elephant in the room. With Obama, it was race. Let's see in the next segment whether religion is the elephant in the room. We're going to come back with more of the Stan Simpson Show. Our political panel will talk about the much-anticipated Senate race here in Connecticut. Joe Lieberman's seat is open, and the infighting has begun. Remember to catch the show online 24/7, ctnow.com/Stan. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, too. Don't go away.